Today on Rappler, President Aquino creates the Transition Commission to write the Bangsamoro Basic Law. The government's Disaster Bureau wants 2013 elections postponed in areas devastated by Typhoon Pablo. And the Catholic Bishops' Conference in the Philippines says the RH bill was approved because of palace intervention. We come to you tonight from Pico de Lora Cove at Jamila Coast, 107 hectares of marine protected area that includes this resort. Pico de Lora is one of Jamila Coast's 13 coves where 3 species of sea turtles emerge from the ocean and lay their eggs several times a year on this beach. According to the Worldwide Fund for Nature Philippines, more than 400 turtle hatchlings were born here in 2011. Jamila Coast partners with WWF Philippines for Sustainable Development and environmental programs. This is a great place to think about the future, which is what we are doing here. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. President Benigno Aquino signs Executive Order 120 on Monday, creating the Transition Commission that will write the Bangsamoro Basic Law. The peace panels of the government and the Moro Islamic Liberation Front are drafting annexes on power sharing, wealth sharing, and normalization that will complete the comprehensive agreement on the Bangsamoro. The latest round of peace talks ends Sunday with a, quote, technical impasse over whether the MILF should lead the Bangsamoro Transition Authority, the body that would lead the transition toward a Bangsamoro political identity. Government Peace Panel Chair Miriam Ferrer says delays in the drafting of annexes will not have a significant impact on the peace process. She adds the tasks of the Transition Commission are separate from the process involving the crafting of the comprehensive agreement. The 2013 polls are 5 months away, but the government's Disaster Bureau says areas devastated by Typhoon Pablo may not be ready to vote by May 13, 2013. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council urges the Commission on Elections to postpone the polls in these Pablo-stricken areas. NDRRMC Executive Director Benito Ramos says COMELEC should assess these areas to see if postponement is appropriate. Based on the NDRRMC's Tuesday update, at least 6 provinces remain under a state of calamity because of Pablo. The 6 affected provinces have 2.13 million voters based on 2010 election records. The typhoon kills more than 1,000 and affects 6.2 million people. Damaged infrastructure includes at least 385 schools. COMELEC uses these schools and classrooms as voting precincts on election day. Typhoon Pablo devastated the country despite early warning systems like NOAA. Officials explain these systems will only work if the most important factor, the people, are prepared. KD Suarez reports.
Days before it made landfall, Typhoon Pablo was a closely monitored system, picking up strength and speed as it crossed the ocean.
For this year, this is the strongest typhoon that hit the Philippines out of the 16 that already hit our country. It really packed strong wind and a lot of rain.
It was also an unusual storm.
To historical records and see whether indeed it is the first time this happened. But one thing's for sure, that particular path, that area of Mindanao, is an area that's not hit often by typhoons. Yeah.
When it came ashore on December 4, people along the typhoon's path, not used to strong storms, were caught by surprise.
And my brother was saying, oh my goodness, we're having a typhoon in Tagum, and it's unimaginable for him, even with the fact that he has lived also in Metro Manila and he knows what a typhoon is. But to put it in the context of being in Davao was even difficult for him to grasp.
The typhoon left a trail of destruction, despair, and death. No amount of warning can help if a community isn't prepared beforehand.
It's not enough for people to know when the floods will come. Even if they get advance warning of incoming floods.
Yes.
If they don't know where to go, where the safe places are, and where the dangerous places are, they won't be safe.
Experts add, hazard maps, typhoon warnings, and other precautions are useless if exposure and vulnerability of people and communities are not considered.
The hazard by itself, yung mga geohazards, incomplete siya without, ang palagi nga namin na-emphasize, knowing exposures and vulnerability. That tells you right away that the equation is not solely the hazard, the warning, the typhoon. When you talk about disasters, you still have the people.
Government projects, such as Project NOAA and the improved warning systems devised by Pag-asa, are a step in the right direction. But it is just the beginning.
The government has decided that it wants to really deal with disaster management as part of its overall development strategy. I believe the first leg has really been in trying to improve the hazard detection and analysis. No? However, it should really not end there.
Disaster mitigation experts say knowing who and which places are vulnerable to disasters is key. The question is, will these lessons be put into practice in time for the next catastrophe? KD Suarez, Rappler, Manila.
The Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines says the reproductive health bill was approved because of the palace's, quote, apparent intervention. CBCP Episcopal Commission on Family and Life Chair Antipolo Bishop Gabriel Reyes says the no votes would have won if the palace did not interfere. Reyes says some anti-RH lawmakers began to support the measure after the luncheon President Aquino organized to break the impasse on the RH bill. Reyes adds, quote, the executive department itself became the corrupter of our congressmen by saying pork barrel funds will not be given if they don't vote for the RH bill. By voting to approve the RH bill, Congress moves the measure closer to becoming a law. Philippine National Police Deputy Director General Alan Purisima becomes the new PNP chief Tuesday, replacing outgoing PNP head Nicanor Bartolome. In a turnover ceremony, he asks policemen involved in corruption to leave the service. Purisima focuses on the PNP's alleged involvement in the illegal numbers game, Weteng. In his first speech as PNP chief, he says, quote, those involved in corruption, get out now. On Friday, the PNP is implicated in another Weteng controversy after Pangasinan Mayor Rodrigo Orduna said PNP officers protected Weteng in the province. U.S. Senator Daniel Inouye dies Monday night, Tuesday in Manila, of respiratory problems after spending weeks in a hospital. Inouye, 88, is the longest-serving member of the U.S. Senate, never losing an election in 58 years of service. He's also a World War II hero and the highest-ranking Asian-American politician in Washington, D.C. Foreign Affairs Secretary Albert Del Rosario mourns the loss of, quote, a true friend and invaluable champion of the Philippines in U.S. politics. Del Rosario adds that Senator Inouye steadfastly advanced Philippine interests and was instrumental in increasing U.S. military and development assistance to the Philippines. U.S. President Barack Obama says the country has lost, quote, a true American hero. Inouye represented Hawaii in the U.S. Congress since the state entered the Union in 1959. His last word was aloha. A U.S.-based astrophysicist says Monday the satellite launched last week by North Korea appears to be dead because no signal can be detected. The United States and its Asian allies acknowledge North Korea succeeded Wednesday in putting an object into orbit that the communist state says is observing the Earth and airing patriotic songs. Jonathan McDowell of the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics says the satellite is clearly in orbit, but no songs are heard. He says, quote, to the best of our knowledge, the satellite isn't operating. Well, let's now look at Rappler's Wrap for today, a list of the 10 most important events around the world you shouldn't miss. At number 8, the 1996 massacre of 16 kids aged 5 and 6 in the tranquil Scottish town of Dunblane may provide some insights to the recent mass killing of children in Connecticut, United States. After the Dunblane gun violence, Britain passed the Firearms Amendment Act of 1988, making registration mandatory for owning shotguns and banning semi-automatic and pump-action weapons. UK lawmakers also passed a ban on the private ownership of all handguns in mainland Britain. The British public generally supported the ban, saying they saw no need for guns. At number 9, U.S. President Barack Obama and House of Representatives Speaker John Boehner meet at the White House to find a way to avoid the fiscal cliff. In a Monday meeting, Boehner offers to accept raising tax rates for those earning more than $1 million a year. Boehner wants the White House to agree to $1 trillion of spending cuts. A deal must be reached by January 1, or a combination of steep tax rises and sharp spending cuts will take effect. And at number 10, whether or not you remember your first tweet, it seems we will have the ability to revisit everything you've ever said on Twitter soon. The microblogging site is testing a new service to let users archive tweets since they joined Twitter. Technology site The Next Web reports the test is active for a, quote, very small percentage of users. For the full top 10, visit Rappler.com's The Wrap. In the sport of shooting, men typically dominate the competition, but that's changing, and one Filipina is calling the shots. Catherine Visconti reports.
I'm too short.
Let me try. You can see everything.
Let me try.
Grace Tan doesn't always tell new guys she meets what she does. She says she doesn't want to scare them away. Tan is one of the top shooters in the Philippines and among the top female shooters in the world. She's used to beating men in local competitions. How do some of the men respond when you beat them?
Nothing. They really admire, but you can feel, you can feel the guys like always threaten when you're around, something like that, and watch you like that.
Even if some male shooters seem threatened initially, they say they're proud of her when she wins medals internationally. In 2007, the ace shooter bested the reigning female world champion from Austria in the International European Handgun Competition.
It's fun, especially if they compete outside. If they go out of the country, I mean, it's a prestige.
At 5'3", the 36-year-old says she's not the strongest nor the fastest on the shooting range. But she makes up for these disadvantages with fluid motions that let her quickly move around the course with precision. Looking around, it's not hard to see this is a sport dominated by men, but there are several promising women like Grace Tan who are making their mark. The Philippine Practical Shooting Association says about 6% of its active members are women. But the group says more women are taking up the sport every year. What would you tell other women who are thinking of entering shooting but may feel that they're entering a man's world?
Like, don't be scared. It's nice to enter into a man's world and you excel.
She says for shooters of any gender, success boils down to hard work.
If you really want to excel, if you really want to learn something, you focus, you go into it. For me, I don't go out much. I know that if I have a practice the next day, I sleep early, you eat well, you exercise, you train well, you know every step what to do. So the discipline is there.
In between training, Tan helps manage her family's gun store. She's come a long way from tagging along with her dad, carrying his equipment. She plans to compete in more international competitions where she can make a name as a Filipino female shooter. Catherine Visconti, Rappler, Manila.
Every story on Rappler has a mood meter, which gives you 8 emotions to choose from. Click how you feel, and your vote comes down to the mood navigator in the middle of the front page, which crowdsources the mood of the day. It also gives you the top 10 stories that have gotten the most clicks on the mood meter. If you looked at today, the day after a historic vote, you have all 10 stories that have to do with the passing of the RH bill on third and final reading. One of today's stories, take a look. CBCP Palace corrupted, pro-RH Solons. You have 62% amused. And of course, the story that has gotten the most number of votes on the mood meter, the story of the historic votes themselves. The Senate and the House okay the RH bill, make history. 95% happy, 2% inspired, 1% angry, 1% sad, and 1% annoyed. All of that huge happy vote contributing to the mood of the day. Today, most people are happy. Well, that's Rappler's Newscast for today, Tuesday, December 18, 2012. Visit Rappler.com and watch our newscast Monday to Friday. Tell us how you feel on our mood meter and help us crowdsource the mood of the day. I'm Maria Ressa. As we say at Rappler, tomorrow begins today.